You are listening to the best of Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector with Tabatha L.
This content is for educational purposes only, drawing from our professional and educational experiences and opinions. Please use this information at your own personal or professional discretion. We are not liable for anything you do with this information.
First question, why do I need an electrical permit to do work in my own home or business? Safety protection. The safety protection is for yourself, your family, and your home protection. Certain types of electrical installation requires a permit before work can begin. If you alter or build a new structure, you must hire a licensed electrical contractor. Another question that I often receive from homeowners, sometimes business owners, how to obtain a permit. Often, if I do an inspection in someone's home, they want to know what type of electrical work are they allowed to do in their own home. Are they allowed to obtain a permit and do certain things in their homes? So I have the answer to that question that I'm often asked. A permit is issued only to a person that is duly licensed under the provisions of this code. Permits are issued by the local building department in your municipality. Securing a permit with a licensed electrical contractor will ensure that your project runs smoothly, since the electrical contractor is more familiar with the process. The licensed electrical contractor will be responsible for all of the electrical installation, including securing a permit, scheduling inspections, purchasing electrical equipment, electrical product listing and labeling requirements, engineering questions if we have any, NEC requirements, and Chapter 1102 of the ordinance, the electrical ordinance. You're responsible to also know that, the electrical contractor. So that's something that's very important. I want to mention that again for the electrical contractors. Also, remember that there are certain code requirements in order, the code requirements in the ordinance 1102. So go through that carefully. So also the electrical ordinance, they add additional electrical standards required by local municipalities. Working with a local licensed electrical contractor is highly recommended. I highly recommend that you work with a local electrical contractor. Please make sure that you're working with someone you can trust. These contractors have foundations in the community and can be easily researched for reviews if you're looking for an electrical contractor. Please allow your electrical contractor to order all of your electrical equipment and supplies needed for your job project. I will give you an example of why you should do this or why you should allow this, your electrical contractor to order your electrical equipment coming up a little later in this segment, I'm going to give you a list of equipments that come out on the job and we frequently have major issues with them. I'll give you that list a little later. But remember to allow your electrical contractor to order all of your electrical equipment. Second, that's one way. That's the question on the electrical contractor for your community. So now I want to give you another way that a homeowner can actually a permit as well in certain municipalities. In certain municipalities and certain jurisdictions, you can take an electrical test required by the local jurisdiction to install electrical work in your home. And that work includes installing electrical outlets and receptacles. You can run some new circuits in your home to your electrical system. Small little things to do in your home if you have an electrical background. So there are a few things that the homeowners are not allowed to take a permit out on. And those items are a main service. So that's your service that's coming into your home. You can't do any service work. You can't do any in-ground swimming pool work. You cannot replace any electrical equipment that damaged in a fire or flood or earthquake or any other disaster. You cannot repair any aluminum conductor or wiring. That's called those Alumicon jobs now, is what we're calling it in our area. Generators and transfer switches, cannot do that. No type of alternating power, solar panels, battery backup systems, anything like that, and no vehicle charging or refueling stations. Homeowners are not allowed to do work on gazebos or pergolas. No building structures or building permits. No classified locations. So for this homeowner test, you need to check with your local municipality or your jurisdiction to see if they allow this. Because in certain jurisdictions, they do. My jurisdiction, they do. We do. I get this question a lot when I am on commercial jobs. I get this question from the electricians and the apprentices and some industry people that may ask me questions, project managers. Some people may ask me if, because they're in the trade, are they allowed to take a permit out on their home and do work on their own home? Yes, you can. That information can be found in that ordinance 1102. It will tell you that you can, as a electrician, a homeowner. It's an exception for electricians that are homeowners. A homeowner permit may be issued for these items if you have 12,000 hours of verify. I'm sorry. If you can prove that you have 12,000 hours of experience while employed by an electrical contractor, and the electrical contractor has to be licensed in that jurisdiction. So if you can prove that, you're allowed to do small work as the homeowners, but you still can't do the major work. You would probably have to have your contractor take that permit out for you. Take that permit out for you. Now I'm going to move along with these questions because I want to get as much in as I possibly can. For the electrical contractors, we now have the permits. So for the electrical contractors, I get this question because if the electrical contractor takes out your permit, your job to run as smoothly as possible. And how we can accomplish that if you put the correct information on your permit. When I go on the job, if I go on the first inspection, a lot of the times I'll fail an inspection on the first inspection because incorrect permit information. That will cause delays in your project. So the wrong address, the wrong floor, the wrong suite number, apartment number, utility permit information, missing premise number. The premise number has 9 digits. If you're missing one of those digits, it's not going to go through to the utility companies. Sometimes when I come out there, it's a lockout, meaning I can't get entrance. So these are small things that will delay the project from the beginning. And as the electrical contractor, those are frequent things that I do run into often. There is an inspection called a meter out inspection. So I have those inspections often in my area as well. So that is a question that I often get. Why do I need a meter out inspection? On existing properties where the service has been disconnected for 6 months or more, it's a safety inspection is required prior to the service being energized. So the meter out inspection is a safety inspection. The inspection needs to be performed before the electrical power can be turned back on for that business or residence. It can happen in either or. If your electrical service has been disconnected for 6 months or more, you're required to get a meter out inspection. And sometimes there are really serious problems found during the meter out inspection. And the customers, they really appreciate our actions in ensuring that their electrical systems are safe. So often when I am scheduling a meter out inspection, I get asked questions. Does the inspector need to go inside the property? Yes, because that's part of the safety inspection. We are checking the safety system of that structure, that building, that house, that resident. That's what we're doing. So when we get inside, we need to check outside, the inside to make sure that everything's connected, make sure everything's good, make sure that your service actually can be connected. In certain areas, there are problems with meter out inspections. So I'm going to give you a couple of things that you need to know when you're scheduling a meter out inspection. It's your responsibility to have this information and provide this information when filling out the meter out form. You need your premise number. I mentioned that earlier. It's 9 digits. You need a contact number, an email address, some way that we can contact that person and let them know and set it up. Well, so the contact information is for the inspector. So you provide this on your meter out request sheet. So when we get the information, we're going to call you and tell you, set it up for you, email address. If anything happens, this is our way of getting the information to you fast and getting it to you as quick as we can. And we need lockbox information. If you have a lockbox on that property, we need lockbox information. Issues also include the condition of the property. Now, that's just the information for the permit. You need that information, correct address, all of that. But once we get out to the meter out, these are some of the issues that I frequently have with the meter out inspections, and it happens often. The house must be lockable before energizing the electrical service because the power's been off for a while. So now you got to make sure that your doors are still intact, your windows are still intact. You just need to make sure that your property is in condition, okay condition, so that no one can get in unnecessarily if the power can be turned on. You need, okay, so for the houses that some do not have any grounding electrode, and they're often missing devices, as I mentioned. And there are occasions where in certain areas that there's electrical work done or installed that's newer. And you remember what I said, that you can't install electrical work without a permit. So we come into a meter out house and we see a new panel or we see new wiring, we're going to question that because it has to be done by a licensed electrical contractor, and we just want to make sure whomever is going to be there in that business or that house, we want to make sure that the wiring is safe. So if you do it without a permit, that often happens, you will receive a violation.
You are listening to the best of Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector with Tabatha L.
Who exactly is the authority having jurisdiction? I'll give you types of authority having jurisdiction. The authority having jurisdiction can be a local, state, or federal government agency, depending on the project, location, and type. Some common types of authority having jurisdiction include government agencies. The most common type of authority having jurisdiction is a local government agency. It can be a city, a county, or a municipality building department responsible for enforcing building codes and regulations. Electrical inspectors fall under this agency. Fire department. The fire department is also an authority having jurisdiction responsible for enforcing codes and fire codes and regulations related to fire safety. State government agencies. In some states, the state government agency is the authority having jurisdiction responsible for enforcing building and fire codes and regulations. Federal government agencies. In some cases, a federal government agency such as OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, can be an authority having jurisdiction. Just to name a few, because that question has come up. Tonight, I am starting with a follow-up question from the podcast Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector, which aired on May the 14th. This episode focused on fire pumps and discussed many important details related to them. The question, can EMT conduit be used instead of MI, mineral insulated cable, to achieve a 2-hour fire rating? No. Electrical metallic tubing, also known as EMT, is a type of metal conduit used to protect wires. While it does not catch fire easily, it does not have its own built-in protection against fire for a very long time, like 2 hours. This means that it will not necessarily stop a fire from spreading or keep its shape during a fire. To ensure that you have proper fire protection. For the amount of time, it's important to use special fire-rated cable or a fire-rated cable system. Another option is to wrap it in concrete with the concrete pour to help improve fire safety. It's important to stay up to date about new rules regarding fire safety for electrical cables. Recently, a plan to certify some electrical cables for use in metal conduits with a 2-hour fire rating was withdrawn because the testing was not done properly. This means that other options like using MI cable or enclosing cable in concrete are currently the best way to ensure fire safety. Although there have been updates to the testing for certain products that now allows for a 2-hour fire safety rating, it's important to be aware of the specific limitations attached to these approvals. Following the guidelines as required by the code and the manufacturer can be tricky on construction sites, especially since different brands may have their own requirements. For projects that need fire-resistant cables, like those used for fire pumps, elevators, and emergency systems, if MI cable isn't an option, it's crucial to communicate any restrictions of other available fire protection methods to the supplier or the supply house. Sometimes the supplier may not mention these limitations when selling their products, which could lead to an expensive mistake if overlooked. MI cable, also known as mineral insulated cable, is a special kind of electrical cable that is designed to resist fire. It usually has a copper outer layer and is filled with mineral materials that help keep electricity from leaking out and help stop fire from spreading. This makes it a safe choice for electrical applications. UL 2196 approved fire-rated cable, manufactured 600 volts. This is the latest information that I could pull with the 600 volts. If there's 1,000-volt cable, MI cable, can you please send me that information for verification? Here's the latest update from UL. There are 3 manufacturers that have a listing for 600-volt cables. If you need those listings, please contact me, and I will give you the 3 manufacturers. And they do have different requirements, and each one is because it's a part of a listing. Let's take each one individually. So there's a system. This is approved for horizontal installation only. So that's something that you would need to take in consideration. Horizontal. That's a big mistake if that happens on a job. Nothing smaller than number 8 passes the test. Conduits must be easy pull brand only. So these are some restrictions. So make sure. So there's one cable that does not have any limitations. And I'll put that name out there with no limitations. Pentair System 1850. MI cable. 600 volts. Stay informed and vigilant to ensure that the fire safety standards are upheld in all electrical work. Question from contractor. I need information on the new pizza restaurant we're working on. I had a meeting at the job site with the utility company. He requested that I get approval from the authority having jurisdiction for some specific details regarding the electrical meter setup. Currently, we have a system in place with 4 electric meters, each capable of handling 200 amps. 2 of these meters are connected to existing units. One serves the pizza space, and the 4th isn't being used. Each meter has its own circuit breaker outside, but unfortunately, there isn't enough space on either side to add a new large 400 amp meter. Before we move forward with installing 2 200 amp services using 2 of the meters, the utility wants to confirm that this plan is acceptable for the authority having jurisdiction. This setup is like what we did at another location. Looking forward to your feedback. Answer. With this type of service configuration, the authority having jurisdiction will allow one tenant to use 2 disconnect of service provided that the disconnects are in the same disconnect meter enclosure. So that means they shall be grouped. Article 230.72. Both disconnects must be marked, indicating the tenants that they serve. Article 230.70b. The National Electrical Code consider this service as one. 6 means of disconnect is not 6 separate services. Question from a homeowner. Why do I need a building permit if I am just putting in some electric work in my basement? Building permits are essential for construction projects, including electrical work. Building permits play a crucial role in ensuring safety and compliance with local and national electrical codes requirements, which can differ based on your location. These permits empower building departments to scrutinize and assess the work to confirm its adherence to safety standards, safeguarding residents from potential risks such as electrocutions and fires. As the electrical inspector, one of my responsibilities in many of the construction projects is to make sure that I check to make sure that a building card has been issued. That tells the local municipality that work is going on in their jurisdiction. If I arrive to a job site, there's no building card there. You are allowed to get a building card within 24 hours because most of the time the contractor will state that they have one, but they don't have it on site. And if that is the case, you can call in the inspection the very next day and have your building card. But if you don't have a building card, it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process. So it's going to take a couple weeks, possibly months. A building card is required if you build. Notably, a building permit is required when undertaking such tasks as new studs or walls. Acquiring a building permit is mandatory. Altering the layout of your home necessitates a building permit. This permit serves as a guarantee that the work is carried out by a licensed contractor with the necessary permits and inspections in place. This becomes particularly significant when considering scenarios like modifying a home, failure to obtain a building permit during such changes can have repercussions when selling the property. Question: Does the local authority having jurisdiction require me to replace the Federal Pacific panel in my home? Neither the authority having jurisdiction nor the National Electrical Code specifically mandates the replacement of a Federal Pacific panel. However, a growing number of insurance companies and HOAs are increasingly requiring these upgrades. While the panel themselves are not classified as illegal, electrical inspectors may recommend or enforce their removal if they are determined that they are a safety hazard. Federal Pacific panels have garnered a reputation for being a safety hazard in the realm of the electrical systems and home inspections. The primary concern revolves around two key factors: defective breakers and brittle materials. The effective breakers are notorious for the Federal Pacific panels are notorious for their circuit breaker unreliability. These breakers are designed to trip and disconnect power in case of excessive electrical flow to prevent overheating. Brittle material, another issue, stems from the material. So you can look that information up. The authority having jurisdiction, we do not mandate that you change your panel unless it's a safety hazard. Question: what are the implications for my insurance coverage if I engage an unlicensed contractor and subsequently experience significant damage to my property? Point blank, if you, as the homeowner or a owner of a business, hire an unlicensed electrical contractor or an unlicensed contractor, and you have significant damage to your property, the ultimate penalty would be that your property will not be covered. That's the ultimate penalty. You would lose everything you have for that simple mistake. Simple as that. Question: in what ways do open permit affect selling my property? When buying or selling a property, one important thing to keep in mind is whether there are any open permits associated with it. This is something that many people might not think about, but it can really complicate the process of you selling your home. Open permits are basically permits that have given you permission to do construction or renovate your projects, and they have not been finished or closed out. When you go to sell your home, there's certain procedures that are in place to make sure that the new homeowner isn't responsible for things that were on the the prior homeowner. So your parcel number will be ran through the system to make sure that you have no open permits. And that's when it will affect you at the sale of your home. So before you sell your home, just go to your municipality and ask them, do you have any open permits? And they should provide that information for you. As a result, when it comes to real estate transactions, it's important for buyers and sellers to be aware of any open permits. Addressing these issues early on can help ensure smoother transitions, a smoother transfer of property.
You are listening to the best of Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector with Tabatha L.
I, as a homeowner who recently requested a bid from a licensed electrical contractor for the replacement of my service panel, I am seeking to verify certain information provided during the assessment. During the walkthrough, the contractor examined the electrical system and indicated that it is necessary to replace the existing meter base supplied by the utility company, as the current meter type is no longer accepted. I wish to confirm whether this requirement is indeed mandatory, as I prefer not to replace the meter unless it is absolutely essential. The answer is yes. As of January 2015, the local utility has mandated a transition to a clamp jaw lever bypass meter socket for all residential services. This change was implemented due to safety concerns associated with older horn bypass meters, as documented by a local government website. A bypass meter allows the utility personnel to reroute power around the meter, facilitating continuous service to the residents during a maintenance or replacement. So, to sum it up, the physical meter socket must feature a bypass mechanism, specifically the clamp jaw type, to ensure safe servicing, regardless of whether a smart meter or a manually read meter is installed. Also, to ensure a thorough and fair estimate, it is advisable to obtain 3 to 4 estimates. These should compare cost, material, and outline any components necessary for the installation. If the utility company mandates a specific meter socket, all estimates should include a new meter base detailing the type and features required. The next question. I am the licensed electrical contractor responsible for wiring a residential home renovation project. The homeowner has expressed a desire to install low-voltage electrical speakers throughout the house. I do not feel comfortable with the homeowner handling the installation of low-voltage wiring, as I am the sole licensed electrical contractor on this project and responsible for ensuring code compliance and safety. My question is whether a permit is required for installing low-voltage wiring in this residential setting. Well, I advise you to contact the authority having jurisdiction to determine whether a permit is required. Many jurisdictions require an electrical permit for installing or altering or repairing or removing electrical equipment. Typical residential projects that necessitate a permit include new construction, renovations, or repairs. A homeowner cannot operate under your electrical permit to perform their own work. As the licensed contractor of record, you bear legal and financial responsibility for all work conducted under your permit. Allowing someone to perform work under your permit is often referred to as selling your license, which is illegal in most jurisdictions and may result in the removal of your license. As the electrical contractor, you are accountable for ensuring that all electrical work, including the low voltage system, is safe and compliant with the National Electrical Code. Should the homeowner action cause a fire or other failure, you bear the liability. As the license holder, You are responsible for workers' compensation insurance, typically covers work performed by your own employees or approved subcontractors, not homeowners. The authority having jurisdiction will require a permit when installing low voltage communication or security alarm systems operating at 24 volts or less during renovation of single home residence, two-family dwellings, or townhouses. An electrical permit will be required. A homeowner often can obtain their own electrical permit for work conducted on their primary residence. Excluding properties intended for sales or rent. However, local regulations may vary and may require an application through the municipal building department, along with a knowledge test, detailed plans, and applicable fees and mandatory inspections to ensure compliance of the National Electrical Code. Significant upgrades such as a panel replacement, new wiring, separately derived systems like solar panels or generators, swimming pools or electrical vehicle chargers, and 240-volt appliance wiring requires a permit from an electrical license holder. Minor repairs such as receptacles and lightings, a homeowner may obtain a permit. Next question. I am a homeowner currently in the process of selling my home. Recently, a municipality inspector from the city conducted a walkthrough of my residence to ensure it meets local safety and building codes. During this inspection, the inspector informed me that the GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter, protection needed, ground fault circuit interrupters needed to be protected in several areas of my home, specifically in the garage, in the bathrooms, basement, and kitchen. When I purchased the home 23 years ago, it did not have GFCI outlets, and I was unaware of any requirements for their installation at that time. Therefore, I am confused as to why GFCI protection is now mandatory, considering it was not a requirement when I bought the property. The answer: your city municipality inspector is only enforcing the National Electrical Code requirements for safety, meaning you need GFCI protection outlets in wet, damp areas like bathrooms and kitchens, near sinks and countertops, in garages, in laundry rooms, in unfinished basements, and outdoor spaces to prevent shock hazards. These devices are crucial for selling because they address potential hazards near water, and you can install a GFCI outlet or breaker to bring the electrical issue up to code. While older homes may often be grandfathered in for personal use only, many cities now mandate upgrades to current safety standards during a re-oc or resale inspection before a property transfer can occur. Next question. While performing an inspection for a service replacement and the replacement of branch circuits for receptacles and lighting outlets, the homeowner informed me that the dryer receptacle plug functioned properly prior to the panel replacement. However, following the service panel replacement, the dryer receptacle ceased to operate. She inquired whether this issue should be reported to the electrician who was working on the electrical service at the time, since the dryer functioned correctly before the panel alteration. I questioned her about her motivations for why she contacted an electrical contractor. She explained that the household lights flickered, and at one point, power was lost to some of the receptacles. She called an electrician, and after troubleshooting, it was discovered that the main lug neutral conductor was loose and burned, showing visible signs of charring. Ultimately, the troubleshooting process revealed that replacing the branch circuits and performing a complete service replacement would resolve any issues that she had. A loose main neutral conductor is an extremely hazardous electrical condition that can cause serious damage to appliances and outlets by creating voltage imbalances. Such imbalances lead to overvoltage situations, which can burn out electronic components, and undervoltage, preventing devices from operating correctly. Symptoms will include, as she stated, flickering or dimming of the lights, devices not functioning properly, electronic devices, burning smells and sizzling sounds from electrical outlets, and sudden and discoloration of receptacles. These signs indicate that a potential safety hazard like a shock hazard or fire hazard, as the neutral wire is responsible for returning current to the source. When it is loose, the current flow becomes unbalanced, resulting in an unpredictable voltage fluctuation. This phenomenon is known as a voltage imbalance. In a typical 240 system, there are two hot phases and a neutral conductor. A loose neutral conductor disrupts this balance, causing one phase to experience extremely high voltages, exceeding 180 volts, while the other phase drops as low as 60 volts. Appliances not rated for high voltages, such as your dryer, are at risk of immediate danger if connected during such an imbalance. For example, 120-volt receptacles powering devices like televisions, computers, and microwaves can suffer from surge damage and complete failure. Devices connected to the lower voltage side, around 60 volts, may operate poorly or cease working altogether due to the unstable voltage. If you encounter these issues as a homeowner or a business owner, it creates a serious fire hazard. A loose neutral conductor can cause overheating at the terminal lug, leading to arcing and sparking. Excessive current flowing through unintended pathways can damage nearby household appliances, electronics, and electricals. Excessive current flowing through unintended pathways can damage nearby household appliances, electronics, and electrical systems. Moreover, metal appliances, metal frames, and plumbing may become energized with hazardous voltage levels, creating a significant electrocution hazard. Recognizing these signs is crucial because a loose main neutral is a critical electrical fault that demands immediate intervention by a qualified electrical contractor. Prompt attention can prevent a catastrophic damage, can prevent electrical fires, and prevent severe safety risks, and eliminate severe safety risks. Next question. My organization holds an electrical contract for a 5-story commercial building. The general contractor has requested that wiring be installed in designated areas within the complex. Several leaks are present throughout the structure, and some areas lacks windows. Please specify any applicable National Electrical Code requirements and authority having jurisdiction safety precautions necessary to commence electrical work in this type of environment. The answer: many organizations prohibit the installation of electrical wiring when leaks are present in a building. OSHA is one of those organizations. OSHA mandates that all electrical equipment and wiring in wet and conductive locations, such as areas with water on the floor or dripping water, must be protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter. In certain cases, equipment should operate at 12 volts or less. Employers are required to inform workers of hazards and protective measures. No person should energize non-conforming electrical systems. OSHA regulations 405 standards, wiring methods. The National Electrical Code prohibits the installation of standard MC cable in areas experiencing active water leaks, as this presents a considerable safety risk and violates code regulations. Standard MC cable is intended for dry environments. Active water leaks establish a wet location, which necessitate specific wet location MC cable requirements. When used under such conditions, MC cable must be equipped with a corrosion-resistant jacket, typically constructed from PVC. Additionally, the internal conductors must be rated for wet locations such as THWN. Nevertheless, the presence of active water leaks renders the environment unsafe to install electrical work. The authority having jurisdiction will enforce strict safety measures and reserve the right to suspend any work until the premise are completely adequately dry. The authority having jurisdiction ensures that all work complies with the electrical code and related building regulations, and may cease operations if conditions are deemed unsafe or non-compliant. Therefore, if you are an electrical contractor and the general contractor advises you to proceed with the installation of raceways, please stop immediately to uphold safety and compliance standards. The general contractor should be notified in writing of the unsafe conditions, specifically referring to the water leaks. A formal request for a site inspection involving the authority having jurisdiction should be made to document the conditions of the site and to verify that the necessary remediations has been completed before resuming work. It is likely that resolving the water issues is a prerequisite for electrical pre-wiring. Written confirmation from the general contractor that repairs have been completed and that the areas are safe and dry should be obtained. Implementing these measures will help protect your organization from liability, ensure personnel safety, and guarantee compliance with the National Electrical Code, the authority having jurisdiction, and OSHA regulations. The next question. As the electrical contractor overseeing a complex comprising of 10 multi-unit buildings currently under construction, I have successfully obtained the permits for each structure. As the project near completion, the general contractor has inquired about the possibility of issuing temporary occupancy for the units that have been completed within these buildings. The general contractor would like to know if we can successfully gain temporary occupancies on the units that have been completed. It is indeed possible to secure a temporary certificate of occupancy for specific units within the building complex that is still under construction. The electrical inspector may issue a TCO for sections deemed safe for occupancy. However, the authority having jurisdiction will not permit partial floors or partial buildings. The contractor is often required to pay an additional fee for inspections, and the entire building must typically be considered. The authority having jurisdiction frequently requires TCOs to be issued for entire buildings, entire floors, or separate units if necessitating its own permit. Given the scope of work of this project across the multiple buildings, it may be necessary to apply for multiple permits on a building by building or unit by unit or floor by floor basis, in accordance with the guidelines established by the authority having jurisdiction and the local municipality building departments. The authority having jurisdiction is generally unconcerned with a few additional inspections on a major project like this. However, we will object to any contractor requesting several inspections that were not included in the original permit. The key requirements for obtaining a temporary occupancy includes the confirmation that the fire alarm and the emergency lighting systems are operational and properly tested, verification that the electrical main distribution systems are complete with panels installed, panel schedules, and conductors terminated correctly, compliance of all exits and means of egress with building codes ensuring accessibilities without passing through active construction zones, completion of the unit. Typically, temporary occupancies are valid for a period ranging from 30 days to 90 days and may be extended upon approval from the electrical department. In tonight's episode, I addressed several specific questions. In this episode, I have addressed several specific questions received from professionals within the electrical industry. These include licensed electrical contractors, general contractors, business owners, and homeowners. My primary objective is to resolve electrical issues before they become a potential problem. Clear communication among all involved parties is essential to prevent misunderstandings. It is vital that everyone is aware of the expectations to the standard regulations to guarantee adherence to local laws and safety protocols. Engaging in electrical projects, whether establishing new installations or repairing existing wiring and equipment, it presents considerable challenges. My podcast aims to address these challenges by emphasizing the importance of staying informed about the latest electrical codes, prioritizing safety at every stage, and encouraging those involved in constructions or renovation projects to ask pertinent questions. I sincerely value the questions and concerns raised by the participants and enjoy providing responses. Through dialogue, we can strengthen our professional community and collaborate to uphold electrical safety standards and best practices. I am eager to feature more industry guests to explore innovative projects within the electrical industry. I invite any electrical industry organization interested in showcasing their services and products to contact me. Together, we can contribute to educating the public and sharing knowledge to identify and address electrical safety concerns. Feel free to reach out via social media with any questions, comments, or topic suggestions. I am available on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the name Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector. You can also email me at asktheladyelectricalinspector@gmail.com. Let us collaborate to maintain safe and compliant electrical systems. Thank you for your time.